back to the channel. Today we're going to unravel some incredibly complex events in Genoa. Rumors are circulating around the Newman family, but what's the truth? In this video, I'll summarize the plot points that will be revealed in the next episode. Stay tuned to see what happens.
Welcome back to our channel, your premier destination for the most thrilling updates and deep analytical dives into the dramatic world of Genoa City. Today is a spectacular day to unpack the explosive secrets, broken relationships, and shocking betrayals that are about to turn the lives of our favorite characters upside down. Settle in and get comfortable, because the intense drama we are about to explore will leave you absolutely breathless. The glittering facade of Genoa City has always been a fragile veneer, a thin layer of gold masking the treacherous, venomous underbelly of corporate warfare and personal vendettas. But absolutely nothing could have prepared the elite residents of this tumultuous town for the catastrophic earthquake that is about to shatter their reality. For months, Matt Clark has wandered through a dense fog of amnesia, a vulnerable blank slate manipulated by the most powerful and ruthless puppeteer of them all, Victor Newman. However, a sudden, violently shocking event, a traumatic trigger that strikes his psyche like a bolt of lightning, has violently torn down the mental barricades in Matt's mind. In an agonizing rush of fragmented images, searing physical pain, and blinding clarity, Matt's memories come flooding back in their entirety. He remembers the darkness of his past and the terror he inflicted, but more importantly, he remembers the insidious, calculated way Victor Newman capitalized on his severe vulnerability. The horrifying realization that his entire recent existence has been a meticulously choreographed lie orchestrated by the mustache hits Matt with the devastating force of a freight train. Will this sudden, violent awakening break Matt completely, or will it forge him into the most dangerous, unpredictable weapon Victor Newman has ever faced? To truly understand the sheer magnitude of Matt's awakening, one must delve deeply into the psychological torture he has endured over the past several months. Stripped of his identity, his history, and his agency, Matt was a lost soul, desperate for redemption and meaning in a world he no longer recognized. Victor Newman, sensing a prime opportunity rather than a tragedy, swooped in not as a savior, but as a highly opportunistic predator. Victor weaponized Matt's guilt and profound confusion, molding him into a covert operative designed to sabotage Kane Ashby and further the Newman Empire's endless, greedy conquests. Matt now vividly recalls every whispered command, every veiled threat of permanent imprisonment, and every manipulative psychological tactic Victor employed to keep him on a tight, suffocating leash. The profound betrayal cuts incredibly deep into Matt's psyche, transforming his lingering confusion into a cold, hardened, and highly focused fury. He realizes that while he may have been a monster in his past, Victor Newman is a monster dressed in a bespoke suit, operating with terrifying impunity. As the psychological fog clears, a singular, burning desire for absolute vengeance takes root in Matt's heart. How far will a man with nothing left to lose go to utterly destroy the billionaire who stole his mind and his autonomy? Matt Clark knows all too well that attacking a titan like Victor Newman requires significantly more than just righteous anger. It requires an ironclad, impenetrable arsenal of undeniable proof. Operating quietly in the shadows, Matt becomes a ghost within the Newman network, utilizing the very access and trust Victor arrogantly granted him to systematically dismantle his tormentors' defenses from the inside out. With meticulous, chilling precision, Matt begins to secretly gather a mountain of evidence detailing Victor's illegal machinations. He hacks into encrypted corporate servers, uncovers hidden financial ledgers detailing illicit payouts, and secures damning audio recordings of Victor's ruthless directives regarding the sabotage of Chancellor Industries and the framing of innocent targets. Every late-night infiltration, every copied digital file, and every intercepted communication is a heavy brick in the monumental legal and public relations case Matt is building against the Newman patriarch. He moves with the silent, deadly grace of an apex predator stalking its prey, knowing intimately that a single misstep could result in his permanent, violent disappearance at the hands of Victor's security team. The tension is palpable and suffocating as Matt prepares to spring his meticulously crafted trap. Will his secretly gathered evidence be enough to pierce Victor's legendary, seemingly impenetrable armor? Or is Matt blindly walking into an even deadlier Newman snare? The stage for this unprecedented, explosive confrontation is set at a lavish, high-profile Newman Enterprises gala, an extravagant event specifically designed to project absolute power, invincibility, and unchallenged dominance to the global business world. The grand ballroom is dripping with obscene opulence, filled to the brim with Genoa City's most influential figures, elite journalists, and the entire, deeply fractured Newman family. Victor stands at the absolute center of it all, a proud king surveying his conquered kingdom, exuding a nauseating aura of smug satisfaction and untouchable authority. Nikki Newman, despite her terrifying recent health struggles and the agonizing, unspoken tension in their marriage, stands dutifully by his side, projecting a flawlessly united front to the flashing cameras. Nick Newman is also present, silently battling his own agonizing internal demons and the suffocating, heavy weight of his escalating fentanyl addiction, completely unaware of the explosive truth about to detonate in his face. The atmosphere is electric with forced, polite smiles and the continuous clinking of expensive champagne glasses, a picture-perfect illusion of corporate royalty. But beneath the glittering surface, the very foundations of the Newman Empire are trembling violently. Who among the elite could possibly anticipate that this night of unparalleled triumph is destined to become the darkest, most humiliating chapter in the Newman family's storied legacy? The polite, wealthy murmur of the gala is abruptly and violently shattered when the heavy, ornate oak doors of the ballroom are thrown open, revealing the uninvited and entirely unexpected figure of Matt Clark. The live orchestral music screeches to a halting, awkward stop, and a heavy, suffocating silence instantly descends upon the massive room. Matt's physical demeanor is completely transformed. Gone forever is the confused, subservient, and docile amnesiac Victor arrogantly thought he had tamed and broken. In his place stands a man radiating a highly dangerous, lethal confidence, his eyes burning with a fierce, unyielding resolve that sends shivers down the spines of those who recognize him. He strides purposefully through the parted sea of shocked, murdering guests, his intense gaze locked dead onto the suddenly rigid figure of Victor Newman. The Newman security detail immediately moves to intercept him, reaching for their earpieces, but a sharp, authoritative, and surprisingly commanding gesture from Matt halts them in their tracks. He holds up a sleek digital tablet, the glowing repository of Victor's darkest, most illegal secrets, and the room collectively holds its breath in fearful anticipation. The tension is so thick it could be cut with a knife as Matt approaches the main podium, aggressively hijacking the microphone and commanding the undivided attention of every single soul in the room. What devastating, world-altering words will fall from the lips of a man who has miraculously returned from the psychological abyss? I am no longer your pawn, Victor. Matt's voice booms through the state-of-the-art sound system, echoing ominously off the crystal chandeliers and striking immediate, paralyzing fear into the hearts of the Newman family. The bold declaration is a definitive declaration of war, a raw, highly emotional outpouring of a man fiercely reclaiming his stolen humanity and agency. Matt speaks with a terrifying, unwavering clarity, his sharp words slicing effortlessly through Victor's carefully constructed, expensive facade of corporate benevolence. He publicly and loudly announces that his memories have fully returned, detailing the agonizing, sickening realization of exactly how his highly vulnerable, brain-damaged state was maliciously exploited for corporate espionage and petty personal vendettas. Matt paints a harrowing, vivid picture of his psychological captivity within Victor's intricate web of lies, exposing to the press how he was blackmailed with the constant, terrifying threat of prison to do the billionaire's dirty work against Kane Ashby and various other rivals. He systematically strips away the legendary myth of the great Victor Newman, revealing him not as a brilliant business genius, but as a cowardly, sadistic manipulator who preys exclusively on the weak and the broken. The raw, unfiltered emotion in Matt's powerful voice captivates the audience, leaving them spellbound by his tragic and enraging tale of abuse. Will the wealthy elite of Genoa City finally see the true, horrifying face of the man they have feared and blindly revered for decades? Matt does not simply stop at vague, emotional accusations. He delves deeply into the excruciating, granular, and highly illegal details of Victor's criminal conspiracies. He exposes the exact, terrifying nature of the blackmail, detailing precisely how Victor orchestrated fake evidence, manipulated digital communications, and used Matt as a blunt, disposable instrument to destroy Chancellor Industries from the inside out. Matt reveals the specific dates of his coercion, the secret, shadowy meetings at the Newman Ranch, and the chilling, life-ruining ultimatums Victor delivered while falsely pretending to offer Matt a genuine path to redemption and safety. He lays bare the sickening hypocrisy of Victor Newman, a man who loudly claims to protect his family above all else while actively and gleefully destroying the lives of others to satisfy his insatiable, massive ego. The crowd gasps audibly as Matt describes the extreme lengths to which Victor went to ensure Matt's absolute compliance, treating him less like a human being and more like a disposable, unfeeling asset. The sheer volume of detailed, highly specific allegations leaves absolutely no room for doubt. This is clearly not the rambling of a madman, but the calculated, undeniable exposure of a systematic criminal enterprise. How will the local authorities and the SEC respond to this highly public, incredibly detailed confession of corporate terrorism and psychological coercion? The blinding flashes of the press cameras illuminate the sheer, unadulterated horror etched deeply onto the faces of the Newman family members. Nikki Newman, already physically weak and emotionally fragile from her terrifying battle with multiple sclerosis and her severe, impending vision loss, looks as though she has been struck by a massive physical blow to the chest. The devastating revelation that her husband, the man she has repeatedly compromised her own morals to defend and love, has sunk to such depraved, sickening depths of manipulation is entirely too much for her failing body to bear. She stares at Victor, her eyes wide with a complex mixture of absolute terror and profound, stomach-churning disgust, realizing that his hunger for control knows absolutely no bounds or ethical limits. The very foundation of their already highly fractured, tense marriage begins to crumble into dust in real time under the crushing weight of Matt's undeniable, horrific truths. Nikki feels a sickening wave of nausea wash over her as she fully comprehends the sheer, sociopathic cruelty of using a brain-damaged, amnesiac man as a corporate weapon. Will this catastrophic, highly public humiliation be the final, fatal strike that permanently destroys the legendary, enduring romance of Victor and Nikki Newman? Beside his trembling mother, Nick Newman stands completely paralyzed, his entire reality shattering into a million jagged, irreparable pieces. Nick has spent his entire adult life deeply despising Matt Clark for the horrific trauma and violence he inflicted on Sharon and their family in the past. Yet, hearing exactly how his own father maliciously exploited Matt's amnesia, manipulating the highly volatile situation for business gain rather than seeking true, legal justice, fills Nick with a blinding, suffocating, and entirely consuming rage. Nick realizes in a flash of horrifying clarity that Victor's endless claims of protecting the family were nothing but a convenient smokescreen for his own sadistic, narcissistic power plays. The hypocrisy is absolutely staggering to process. Victor loudly condemned Matt as an unforgivable monster, yet acted as an even greater, more insidious monster by secretly pulling his strings. This devastating revelation hits Nick at his absolute most vulnerable moment, as he secretly battles his overwhelming, deadly fentanyl addiction, pushing his already incredibly fragile mental state to the absolute, dangerous brink. The betrayal cuts to the very core of Nick's soul, severing the last remaining, fraying threads of respect he held for his father. Will this devastating, mind-altering betrayal push Nick completely over the edge, sending him spiraling deeper into the deadly, inescapable abyss of his drug addiction?